Hi, my name is Sam Buick. I am a 57-year-old Canadian male, and my journey up to today, over the last 6 months in fact, has been a bit of a wild one. The second week in April of this year, 2015, my darling wife, Lori, she noticed a small, tiny bump, size of the tip, the tip of my finger, my pinky, on my right pec between my nipple and my armpit. I had a hard time finding it myself, but I found it. And she said, "Sam, you better go get checked out." So I tried to make an appointment with my GP, and my GP was extremely busy. So after about a week, I went to the walk-in clinic that I frequent, especially during the winter time. If I have a cold or something that the doctor can't see me about right away, I go to this walk-in clinic. They know me, they've seen me, and I have a pretty good rapport there. So I went there, and the doctor looked at me and said, "It looks like you've got an ingrown hair that could be an abscess, and we just want to make sure we'll give you some antibiotics." So they gave me a run of 10 days of this heavy-duty antibiotic. It ran its course, and nothing seemed to change with this little spot. And by this time I tried again to get an appointment with my GP. And my GP saw me in the middle of the month of May, about almost 5 weeks after Lori noticed this particular spot. So the doctor looked at it, and he gave me the same spiel as the other doctor, that it could be an ingrown hair or an abscess. And he duly noted and felt it, but it had grown like a size of a nickel, in between a nickel and a quarter, so it was getting bigger. So he said, maybe it's trying to surface. So let's wait and see. So we waited to see, and I called him again about 3 weeks later, and I said, "Look, this is not working. I've got to get this looked at by a surgeon like you described." And he had described a surgeon doing an incision and trying to drain the abscess. And because of the power of Google, and I love the internet, I love to do research, I went and I looked up all the images dealing with, draining an abscess. And let me tell you, they're pretty graphic. So in my imagination, it could run wild. I thought, okay, I can deal with this. It's fine. But by the time I got to see the surgeon, it was the first week of August. In fact, it was just Hiroshima, not Nagasaki Day, the anniversary. So I went and I saw the doctor, and he did an incision. He tried to drain it, and he couldn't get anything to drain, which I found to be odd. But he left it as what they call an open wound with me-salt gauze dressings packed in to try and pull it out and draw it out. And that required me to go to the local CCAC clinic, which is a nursing clinic, where the nurses would do a daily dressing change. And I didn't mind that. I didn't want them coming to my home. I would rather go to their clinic and get it all looked after there. And I've been going to that clinic every day since. And today, it's near the end of October. It's the 27th of October. And the update is this. So from that time to within 3 days of getting that incision, this growth started to grow out of my body. this growth was essentially like two silver dollars on top of each other. Stayed that size for a little bit. And then within about a week and a half, it grew to be a size of an avocado, which is pretty big. And now it's bigger. Interestingly enough, the doctor looked at it, and both my GP and the surgeon that had done the incision had been on holidays all summer, so it was pretty hard to get in touch with anybody. But I went because one of the nurses says, you need to go to get seen by a doctor. Go to the hospital. So being the obedient guy that I am, I did this twice at their prompting. And the second time, both the surgeon who did the incision as well as a general surgeon on call were actually, the general surgeon on call was a friend of my GP who my GP was referring me to. So I got to see this doctor. This doctor looked at it, he sat me down, and what I never understood was, the only blood work that I ever got done since April was blood work for my CT scan, because they didn't have any blood work on record for the last 90 days. So that was a mind blower for me. The other was they had not done any ultrasounds, or MRIs, or mammograms. And my wife said this, which is really in your face if you're a male. I'm a man, and men can indeed get breast cancer, and 1% of all breast cancers happen to men. And the problem is, many people, especially men, don't know how to examine themselves or even think it's necessary. But if you do notice something like my wife noticed, second week of April, if I had been a woman, and this is what my wife said, if I had been a woman, within 3 weeks, I would have had the required test to find out what was going on. It's 6 months. October the 6th, just about the end of September, I got a guided ultrasound biopsy into my chest on the mass as well as lymph nodes. The lymph nodes came out clear, the mass came out cancerous. So they know the mass is cancerous. And the thing is, this thing is growing outside of my body. And on October the 6th is when they told me. So since October 6th, we're now at the 27th. It's 3 weeks removed from that day. The only thing that's changed is I had to get a CT scan. I went and got the CT scan a week ago tomorrow. CT scan got done. I went away to a Christian conference for 2 days. And the third day when I came home, that same morning, the surgeon's office called me, telling me that we need to get a move on some things, and I was good with that. And one of the things they said, this was last Friday, they needed me to confirm that I could go to Princess Margaret's Hospital in Toronto to see a doctor there, Dr. Catton. So this hospital is one of the top 5 cancer facilities in the world. And the irony is not lost on me that anybody who knows me knows that I do not like the city of Toronto. If I can bypass the city, I bypass the city. I don't like their sports teams or anything about it. The greatest blessing that came to me out of Toronto was the Toronto blessing. TACF and Catch the Fire, and the renewal that came out of that, the Father's blessing. But other than that, I don't like the city at all. So in my heart, I was dealing with that issue of, okay, I have to go to Toronto. I have to go to this hospital. And I kept praying and asking God to give me peace to go to the hospital and everything would be fine. Well, the remarkable thing is this was on a Friday. On the Saturday and the weekend, I had people praying for me. People came to my house to pray for me. Amazing time of prayer. The Sunday, I get to church, and within a few moments of the worship time, they call the whole church to gather around me and pray for me, which blew my mind. It was an incredible encounter. I had a time of communion and prayer with a group of people from the church after the service. And I felt a lot of support and encouragement and the backing of my church family, who really love me and care for me. So I felt pretty jacked up and confident that, okay, this is actually going to get somewhere. So on Monday, which would be yesterday, I showed up in Toronto. My wife did all the driving, bless her heart. She's never driven downtown Toronto, ever. When we were taking our firstborn daughter, Kara, to Sick Kids for 6.5 years, I did all the driving. This was the first time Lori ever did it, and she was incredibly wonderful, going down and coming home. And when we arrived there, we arrived about 20 minutes delayed because of the traffic on the Gardiner Expressway in Toronto. And if you know Toronto, you know how bad the Gardiner can be. We got there. I phoned on the cell and called the office and let them know we're going to be a little bit delayed because of the traffic. Got there, got registered. Dr. Catton came down and spent time with us and took us into another room. The dressing got taken off my wound. He looked at it. Oh yes, and he pulled out his iPhone, doctor with an iPhone, and took a picture. And I gave him the 2 CT scan CDs with the scans on them. And then he went on to say this to me. He said that it looked like it could be a soft tissue sarcoma, or it could be a breast cancer. In either case, they're a very rare form of cancer, and there are different treatment plans, but they need to get a proper diagnosis. And part of the problem was the biopsy they originally took, they didn't take it out of the growth coming out of my chest, they took it from my chest, is too small. So they're going to need to do two things. One is do an MRI, and the other is to do another biopsy to be more certain from the pathology report of what they're dealing with, and then they can act accordingly. Now, some people would say, well, aren't you upset? No, I'm not upset, actually. Actually, I have a lot of faith and confidence in Dr. Catton. He put me at ease, had a terrific bedside manner, and he called it the way it is. And if I had an option of the two, I think I would rather deal with the soft tissue sarcoma. It's not as invasive as the breast cancer and how they deal with it. So that's the status. Now today, the 27th of October, I am waiting to hear from the surgeon's office as to whether I'll have to go to Toronto to get the MRI, because they can do it a whole lot quicker apparently, or get the MRI done here, and then a biopsy. So those are the two steps that are needed before we can do anything. The one thing he said is certain, that this mass will have to be removed. So you'll need surgery. So I'm going to need surgery. That I knew. That was a given. Just when? That I do not know. So I'll keep everybody posted. This is my first update on my journey in this battle with cancer. And I'll keep you updated along with my blog posts. But thanks for listening in. And if you're a man or a woman, please take care of your health. Do the examinations that you can make to try and find lumps or anything that's abnormal. And if you notice something that's abnormal, please tell your doctor. Okay. So thanks. Have a blessed day today on this Tuesday, the 27th of October. Cheers.